Hi, it's Katrina. Number 10. The Antarctic King. Paleontologists uncovered the fossilized remains of a reptilian monster in Antarctica. Although the continent may be covered in ice today, virtually uninhabitable and as inhospitable as it gets, that wasn't always the case. 250 million years ago, Antarctica was covered in lush forests. It had flowing rivers and was absolutely crawling with bizarre life forms. Temperatures almost never fell below freezing, and most of the year Antarctica was as warm as any jungle today. It was during that warm period that the Antarctanax Shackletoni roamed the land, feasting on gigantic insects and other creatures. Scientists have nicknamed the monster the Antarctic King. And although it was indeed a reptilian beast, it wasn't very large. It was only about the size of an iguana, yet it was an early relative of both dinosaurs and crocodiles. Scientists were able to determine a lot from the single fossil excavated from the ice. They know it was a carnivore, it likely hunted bugs, and may have also eaten early mammal relatives. But that's not the strangest part. According to Brandon P. Cook from the Field Museum, the more we learn about prehistoric Antarctica, the weirder things get. The discovery of this reptile has shown just how extraordinary life in Antarctica used to be. About 2 million years before the Antarctic King evolved, there was a huge extinction event that killed about 90% of life on Earth. Yet for some reason, species that died out across the rest of the globe remained alive in Antarctica. Researchers aren't entirely sure why, but Antarctica appears to have been a safe haven for creatures following the extinction event. Number 9. Child Warrior Mummy. In the Siberian Arctic, researchers uncovered the mysterious grave of a mummified child warrior. The young boy was between 6 and 7 years old when they perished. They were buried in a bundle of reindeer hide and fur, protected by a small bronze axe perfectly sculpted to be wielded by a child. He was also buried with a special pendant crafted in the shape of a wild bear. This shocking discovery was made at the mysterious and little-known Zeleny Yar necropolis. Scientists have found other burials here, but this is the first one belonging to a child. The deceased was cocooned within a wrapping of birch bark and copper, which accidentally helped to create a mummy. Because of the freezing conditions, the permafrost, and the extraordinary wrapping job, the child was better preserved than most Egyptian mummies. Researchers also believed whoever the youngster was, they were likely part of the higher echelon of society. Unfortunately, we still don't have a clear picture of what's going on with this mystery child. Archaeologist Natalia Fyodorova says the team is hoping to reveal more details soon. All we really know is that the child belonged to an ancient tribe that lived in the frigid wastelands of Siberia about 800 years ago. But because of the axe, the young boy may have been training to be a fierce warrior. Number 8. The Glowing Snailfish. Scientists recently discovered one of the most bizarre species of fish ever, underneath an iceberg in Greenland. They drilled through the iceberg off the coast of Greenland only to encounter a glowing green snailfish. The reason the snailfish was glowing green was that it had antifreeze coursing through its veins. That's the same stuff you put in your car to stop your engine from freezing in the winter. Researchers were positively thrilled to encounter such a strange animal. They soon learned the fish is a species called Leparis gibbus, and that it contains the highest levels of antifreeze proteins ever seen in a fish. And yes, it works almost identically to the way a car uses it. The fish seems to have evolved specialized systems to push antifreeze through its veins, preventing it from freezing to death in the polar winters. The way it works is that antifreeze proteins get stuck to tiny ice crystals and prevent them from growing. David Gruber, a biology professor, says fish around the North Pole and the South Pole have independently evolved these antifreeze proteins to survive in their harsh environments. Sadly, scientists are unsure how this unique evolutionary feature will affect the snailfish as sea temperatures get warmer. As the Arctic warms, the fish will have less use for its unique biology and could go extinct as a result. Either that, or it will evolve yet again to adapt to the new conditions. Number 7. Melting Base Camp. Everest Base Camp is currently in the process of melting. In late 2022, the thawing of the Khumbu Glacier became such a problem that Nepal was forced to make plans to pack up and move the base camp. Scott Watson, an expert on glaciers from the University of Leeds, says climate change is responsible for increased rockfalls, meltwater movement on the surface of the glaciers, and the total destabilization of one of the most famous mountain camps in the world. Even if you don't want to climb Mount Everest, you can climb to the base camp to gaze up at the mightiest mountain on the planet. But as of 2022, that all changed. Researchers found the ice too unstable to allow climbers to stay any longer. Cracks appeared overnight, avalanches happened unexpectedly, and so the base must be moved 1,200 feet lower, to a spot where there is no year-round ice. But climate change isn't the only thing responsible for the movement of base camp. Yes, the ice is melting and soon the Khumbu Glacier will be gone. But there are other problems as well, such as urine. It was found that there are so many visitors to base camp every day that about 4,000 liters of urine ends up flowing down the mountain. There are also issues higher up on the mountain. Ice that took many hundreds of years to accumulate is gone. The climb has become more dangerous. The melting ice has also revealed dozens of frozen dead bodies and enough garbage to make a garbage dump. And now for number 6. But first, it's shoutout time! I wanted to say a big thank you to Mama Lisa 104 and Ludmila Machado for supporting this channel. If you are new here, be sure to hit that subscribe button for more videos about amazing discoveries. Number 6. Colonizing Mars. Scientists have made a shocking ice discovery on another planet. The recent discovery of accessible ice sheets on Mars could help future colonization of the red planet. Researchers working with NASA were looking through images taken by the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter when they found ice sheets exposed on the Martian surface. These sheets appear to be pure and easy to access. It's a big deal because if there are huge chunks of ice sticking out from the surface, that would mean early colonizers to Mars would have fresh and almost limitless drinking water. NASA has known about subsurface ice on Mars for a long time. We know there are huge ice deposits on its poles, left over from when Mars was likely covered in great oceans like the ones we have on Earth. But these newly discovered ice sheets are much different. They seem to be scattered across the Martian surface and even sticking out of mountain slopes 300 feet above ground. Just imagine gigantic ice cubes that could be extracted and melted for healthy, natural, non-polluted drinking water. Shane Byrne, a planetary scientist from the University of Arizona, says the discovery of ice could be a game changer for Martian colonization and exploration. Number 5. Trendy Sandals. A pair of trendy sandals from the Roman era were recently found on an ice pass in Norway. A group of Norwegian archaeologists were searching the melting glaciers and thinning ice patches in the rural mountains of the country when they came across the pair of sandals. They were buried deep in the snow, hidden at the bottom of what was once a dangerous mountain route. The discovery happened in the Jotunheim Mountains, 200 miles from Oslo. The mountain pass was commonly used by the Vikings between the years 300 and 1500 AD. This was long before any paved roads were constructed in Norway. Viking merchants and other medieval travelers moved through the mountain pass to get from one side of the country to the other. And this was no easy trip. Some parts of the pass are 6,600 feet above sea level. During their travels, many vendors and wayward wanderers lost personal objects, for example, a pair of shoes. Their objects were then covered in snow and encased within the ice. But starting in 2011, the ice patches started to melt, and ever since, archaeologists have been finding treasure. These sandals have proven particularly interesting because they were not at all designed for the cold. After all, you wouldn't wear a pair of flip-flops to hike through the snowy mountains of Norway. These sandals were designed with holes and gaps all over them, and would have been more appropriately worn in the south of Italy. Nonetheless, they were found in the Finnish mountains, buried in the snow. Researchers aren't sure what happened. These sandals may have come from an explorer who realized he wasn't going to need the footwear where he was going, and simply tossed them out. Number 4. Mysterious fungi. A rather unusual discovery was made in the Scottish Highlands. Researchers were examining soil samples in search of fungi. A team of volunteers hiked through the Cairngorms National Park in 2021 and collected samples from high up in the snowy mountains. They found multiple species of fungi totally new to the UK, along with one particularly mysterious fungus not known to science. You might not think so, but the mountains in Scotland are responsible for storing an estimated 1/3 of the land carbon on the planet. This is due to their regenerative peat bogs. The whole area is a blanket of moss and peat and fungi, but not much of this fungi has been studied because the highlands are remote, cold, and everything is covered in ice and snow. So what's the big deal about fungi anyway? Ecologist Andrea Britton says fungi are important for the functioning of alpine ecosystems. But we know almost nothing about the diversity of it because so much of it is hidden underground or frozen under permafrost. During this most recent study, scientists identified fungi from the Arctic and from Antarctica. They also uncovered a rare violet coral fungus that's critical to grassland ecosystems. Number 3. The Octavius. In 1761, the Octavius was docked in London, England. It was loaded up with cargo and sailed for China. When the ship took off, it had a full crew and everything seemed to be up to code. The Octavius was in good shape, the men were in good spirits, and they made it to China without incident. But then something strange happened. It was on its way back to British shores when the captain got a really bad idea. He decided he would push the ship through the Northwest Passage to get home sooner, even though that meant potentially getting stuck in the ice. The Octavius never made it back to Britain. It wasn't seen again until October 11, 1775. A whaling ship by the name of Herald spotted the Octavius off the coast of Greenland. The captain and the crew boarded the ship to see what they could find, but it appeared deserted. It wasn't until they broke into the darkness of the ship's hull that they found the 28 crew members frozen solid in blocks of ice. They then found the captain seated at his desk, his pen frozen in his hand, and the ship's logbook frozen on the desk before him. We still don't know exactly what happened, but by putting the clues together, experts are fairly sure of the events that transpired after the Octavia left China. The ship went through the Northwest Passage, got stuck in the ice, and everyone on board turned into human icicles. Based on the way they were discovered, the crew of the Octavius were hit by a sudden plunge in temperature that caused them to freeze solid in a very short time. Number 2. Sunken Truck. An international team of scientists recently put their expertise together to recover a very unusual object from the frigid Arctic waters. They used specialized divers, airbags, and a helicopter to retrieve a submerged Ford 150 truck that fell through the ice in early 2022. It happened near the Tasmania Islands in the Canadian territory of Nunavut, which is one of the most isolated places in the world you can visit. Divers traveled all the way to the frigid north from Iceland. They dove underneath the ice, then attached airbags to the truck and towed it to shore. They then attached the F-150 to a helicopter and airlifted it to Joa Haven. Team member Andrew Comey Picard called the recovery a tremendous success. But why did so many people go through so much trouble to pull up a pickup truck out of the water after it smashed through the ice? The vehicle was originally part of something called the Trans-Global Car Expedition. A team of 16 people from various countries completed a massive journey overland from Yellowknife to Resolute across the Canadian territories. The whole journey was about 1,300 miles. It was the very first overland crossing using trucks from the continental shelf of Canada all the way to the high Arctic. It was also a precursor to an even longer overland journey that will circumnavigate the globe. But during the journey, one of the trucks crashed through the ice and sank. The team members went back, not to save the vehicle, but to clean the land and not leave their garbage behind. Would you go through that much effort for a truck? Let me know in the comments. Number 1. The next pandemic. The next global pandemic might just be waiting in the Arctic ice. Researchers recently sequenced segments of DNA and RNA taken from the soil in the Arctic Circle near Lake Hazen. What the scientists were hoping to do was identify potential viruses hiding beneath the ice in the Arctic soil. They used a computer algorithm to look at the viruses and potential hosts in the area, assessing spillover risk. What this means is the ability for any potential frozen viruses to be picked up by a carrier and then spread to humans. For example, spillover risk would be a virus melting out of a glacier, being picked up by a deer, and then being transferred to a person. They did not identify any immediate concerns. However, they did suggest that glacier runoff will lead to a greater chance of viruses jumping onto hosts, which thereby increases spillover risk. They learned that as the ice in the Arctic melts, it releases viruses and organic material that gets washed out into lakes and rivers. This increases the potential that an organism becomes infected and then reaches humanity. Thanks for watching! Which of these frozen discoveries did you find the most interesting? Let me know in the comments below, and be sure to hit that subscribe button for more amazing discoveries. See you later. Bye!